This is the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome in another edition of the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, talking District 5 and 6 activities week in, week out. Brandon Baney joined as always by Sean Kane. What's up, Sean?
Hey, how's it going? It's sunny out. I can't complain.
Yes, you actually got a tennis match in with Highland.
Yep, we played Highland yesterday. It was beautiful. Clouds rolled in at one point, which wasn't on anyone's phone, walkie-talkie or anything, but we got a little worried, but it was good. And yeah, it was good to kind of like get a nice match in where I was wearing shorts. I don't know if they wanted to see my white legs, but they were out.
And they were there, whether you wanted to see it or not. That's
yeah.
Sure.
And the big joke my players always have with me is I let the dogs out. I like to wear flip-flops 90% of the time. When you're standing for like 8 hours, man, it's all about comfort, So I'm a flip-flop guy.
Yeah, you got to be comfortable, right? Yeah, I totally understand that. So that was Century Tennis yesterday against Highland. Fell to the Rams. Boys, girls. Did the girls?
Yeah, we lost both. Highland has 3 freshman boys that are really, really good. I've worked with them throughout the years. And we talked about this before. Braden Johnson is a freshman singles player, and he'll be competing for the title this year. He's phenomenal, great kid. It'll be cool. It'll be cool to see what happens here as the season goes on. But he's definitely, I think, one of the potential top players, and could come home with that, with that gold medal.
Yeah. So let's dive into the spring sports discussion. We'll start on the softball pitch, where at this moment, Sean, there are 6 teams still in the state of Idaho that are undefeated as we're approaching the midway point of the season. Among those 6 are 2 from East Idaho, Malad, which is 3-0, and we'll talk about them in just a second. But you also have at the 4A ranks the only undefeated team in 4A, the Pocatello Thunder. Coach Josh Naylor just keeps on rolling, and this group of girls, they are 8-0, and they are 2-0 in District 5 competition. What a week it's been. Just this past week, they beat Thunder Ridge, which is a really good. Yeah, they beat a really good Thunder Ridge team, a good 5A school, 9-0. Then they went down to the Bengal Bash hosted by Brighton High School in Salt Lake City over the weekend and cleaned up. They beat Canyon View, Utah 4-3. Brighton, the host school, 18-2. Cedar, Utah, 8-0. And then they opened conference play yesterday, Tuesday, April 11th in Preston, and they get a pair over the Indians. So yeah. What a start, and what a season it's been for Pocatello softball.
Yeah, I was at Thunder Ridge for a tennis match while that softball game was going on, so I kind of got to see a little bit. And people are Thunder Ridge was very surprised. I think Thunder Ridge has 3 really good pitchers, but Mia Lusk pitched, and it was a shutout. And they're a tough team, and don't sleep on the Thunder right now in softball.
Yeah, and I guess I misspoke. They're 7-0 overall, 1-0 in conference. Just one game at Preston yesterday. So somehow we had it in there twice on our site. We'll have to fix that.
Preston's not going to like that.
Right. But you look at who's leading the way, and it really is a group effort. You've got McKinley Hill batting 545. Taylor Rogers, great sophomore, right behind her at 542. Mia Lusk, not only is she, got a microscopic ERA in the pitcher circle, she's batting 524. Taylor Bunderson, 471. I mean, this is a group that really, they don't hit a ton of home runs. They have 3 as a team, but station to station, base to base, and they're pretty tough. They're a tough lineup.
And that's what people, when you talk to other coaches and they say that they're just really deep in the hitting, that they're going to be able to score runs. So if you're not able to, kind of stop them or score your own runs, you're going to have a tough 7-inning stretch there.
Yeah, and we talked about Mia Lusk. She's got a .84 ERA on the season. She has 49 strikeouts to just 11 walks. And this is where I think this is really encouraging for Pocatello, because a lot of teams in the state of Idaho have a good pitcher. Mm-hmm. Very few have 2. And if you have a second pitcher that you can complement in softball, that makes you really dangerous. And Taylor Rogers has been phenomenal when she's been called upon. She has pitched 12 innings this year. She's 3-0 with a 1.75 ERA, 15 strikeouts to just 2 walks. So Coach Naylor's got a pretty good 1-2 combo there in the pitcher circle, which I think is going to bode really well in the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, right, tournament play, you're playing multiple games, and that pitching makes a difference. And they've got that set up pretty tight, and went and played tournaments, right? Get that experience and know how to do that, and know what their pitchers can go out there and do in those situations, and that's going to pay dividends later on.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on Pocatello. Up next is a home doubleheader with Idaho Falls, non-conference play on Saturday, and then they play Century in a double dip next Tuesday.
I think everything will be doubleheaders from here on out.
It's probably a fair point. So that will be interesting to see how that goes coming up for Pocatello. The other team that's still undefeated is at the 2A ranks. And I wanted to stop down and talk a little 2A softball because there's been a lot of crazy stuff going on in the 2A softball ranks. But Malad still sitting undefeated. They are 3-0, which, compared to Pocatello's 8-0, maybe isn't as impressive, but Malad can't control the weather. They can only, do what their schedule allows them to do. But Malad came through on Monday night, Sean, and played probably their biggest competition in the Southeast Idaho Conference in the West Side Pirates, and turned them back 11-0. So a shutout win for Malad as they are now 3-0 on the season.
Yeah, and in Malad and in the coaches poll, they're ranked 4th, and I think maybe that's just because they have the lack of maybe the games, right? They don't have as many games as the other top 5 teams, but we talked about them. We knew that was going to be a dangerous team, and they're as they get the games going, we'll get to see the bigger picture of that.
Yeah, Wrigley Peterson in the pitcher circle for Malad on Monday. 6 innings, allowed just 1 hit, 10 strikeouts, 0 walks. So 1 hit away from a perfect game, basically, for Wrigley Peterson of Malad. But the 1-hitter, still pretty good. We had a no-hitter yesterday, Sean. It was a combined no-hitter, also at the 2A level and we've kind of talked about in 2A softball, the last, at least 2 seasons, there's been a big 3. It's been Malad, it's been St. Mary's from up north, and West Jefferson. And it kind of looks like it's going to be those 3 again, all fighting for supremacy. West J has come out and played really well this year. They're 6-5 overall, but they really challenged themselves. We talked about this a couple podcasts ago. They went down to an early season tournament in Utah, kind of took their lumps there against much bigger schools. In fact, West J had to play Idaho Falls for some reason at this Utah tournament. Oh, yeah. Right. We talked about that. But they're 5-0 in the nuclear conference. They're 5-0 where it counts in their district. They beat Chalice Mackey yesterday, Tuesday the 11th, 17-0. And in the process, a combined no-hitter was thrown by sophomore Carmindy Johnson and then also senior Jordan Torgerson. They combined on a no-hitter. It was only 3 innings because of the run rule, but still, combined no-hitter, pretty cool deal.
Yeah, and we've talked about Jordan Torgerson before, and just a lights-out pitcher, and that's why she's on that pitcher's list on IdahoSports.com, right? I bet you she's on there a few more times this year.
Yeah, and Carmindy Johnson pitched two innings, I think. And everybody loves Jordan Torgerson's performance shot.
So does my dog, I guess.
Yeah, no worries. Carmindy Johnson at the plate also did very well yesterday. She went 2 for 3 with 5 RBIs, 3 runs scored, and 2 stolen bases. So West J also a team to keep an eye on. And it looks like maybe North Fremont might be their toughest competition in District 6. The Huskies were playing Firth earlier this week and had to come from behind to get a 14-9 victory. So good win for North Fremont. They're 2-4 overall, but they've played a lot of tough 3A schools and even a 4A school. So we'll keep an eye on North Fremont as well. A lot of those same athletes we saw on the basketball court also, play softball for North Fremont. So Softball action heating up. 6 undefeated teams left, 2 from East Idaho, and we'll continue to watch that as it goes along. Baseball. Let's break down what's going on in the baseball ranks, where the coaches' polls came out for the first time this spring season today on IdahoSports.com. People might be going, why'd you wait so long? Well, a week ago, some teams still hadn't played yet, and we just didn't think that was fair to have a coaches' poll when,
There'd be a lot of guessing, a lot of speculation.
Yeah, it just didn't seem fair. So now that everybody's played at least one game, and most have played more than that, but the first coaches polls of the year are right at the top of the homepage at IdahoSports.com. East Idaho teams ranked in 5A, none. State of Ada, all District 3 teams ranked.
Yeah, all of them. Yeah, Highland did receive some votes, and Highland just got a win over Rigby, I think, last night too. So Highland's kind of, I think, starting to roll as well.
Yeah, apparently Rigby was the one place in the conference that had a field that was playable, because last week Highland, Thunder Ridge, Madison, and Rigby all met up at Rigby's place on Friday and kind of did almost like not quite a round robin, but they all were like, we got to get these conference games in. Let's just start at 10 a.m. and we'll all just play each other. And it was kind of wild. 4A coaches poll. Pocatello checks in at number 4. Bonneville is number 5. I would say that seems right to me. They both are perennial state participants. Bonneville won it all, not that long ago.
Yeah.
So that seems right to me.
Yeah, and kind of the word on the street is Pocatello is just really, really deep, and they're just if they weren't on the top 5, it'd have been okay, right? Because they know what they have and what's going to happen. But I think they're a team that I think is going to slowly start to impress people with their depth. Everyone just says they just have so many good players. Like it's not top heavy. It's just a well-rounded team. And that's kind of the word on the Thunder right now in baseball.
Now, I will tell you that Bonneville always, they've got the pedigree, but a team people might be sleeping on is Skyline. The Grizzlies are 5-1. They are 2-0 in High Country Conference play, including a 10-4 victory over Bonneville last night at Melaleuca Field in Idaho Falls. So they beat the Bees 10-4. So Skyline and Coach Brett Taylor, I think, is a team. They've got a good pitcher too in Merzlock. So Skyline to me kind of sneaky too. Keep an eye on the Grizzlies.
Blackfoot too is always kind of the baseball team they somehow find. You talk about the other teams in District 6, but it always seems like Blackfoot makes it to state, and they're always tough too. So that's going to be a tough district, I think, is what we're saying right there.
You're right. The way that district goes, everybody plays each other 3 times, and Blackfoot and Bonneville already had their little 3-game set. Blackfoot won the first game 3-1. Bonneville won big in the second game, 18-7. The third game was as tight as it could be. Bonneville won 7-6. So shows you how close it is. Yeah. So yes, that top 3, and even Hillcrest, I think, and even Idaho Falls. I mean, geez, we haven't even talked about Idaho Falls.
They're always dominant in baseball too, right? And
yeah, they're 5-1 in conference, 7-5 overall. So
yeah, I mean, that's going to be an exciting district race for sure. The race, and then who knows what happens and get to the tournament, right? So
right. And you wonder why the Idaho Falls Bandits, the American Legion team, has gone and won the American Legion World Series in recent years. Yeah, it's because they pool together. Bonneville, Skyline, Hillcrest, Idaho Falls, they all get together.
Shelley.
Yeah, they form this super team, and it is fun to watch. So yeah, really good baseball up there in District 6, for sure. 3A coaches poll, Marsh Valley, top dog. They're 10-1. They're also the defending champions, so that seems right on. Sugar Salem, man, they just keep on winning, 10-2-1 on the season. The caveat is with these teams, the districts are so small that no district games yet, but looking good.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Does Marsh Valley play Sugar Salem in the regular series?
Oh man, I think they were on the schedule, and then it was one of the 5 million games that
got canceled. Yeah, that's what I thought. But what a game that would be for the regular season.
Yeah, that would be phenomenal for sure. So yeah, those two seem right on. Marsh Valley, more of a veteran team. Sugar's still kind of young. They leaned on a lot of freshmen and sophomores last year that are a year older, but they're still looking to, get to state and get to the finals. In the 2A coaches poll, Firth, last year's runner-up, they're 10-2 overall. They look very good with all the Vasquezes and Parks that play for Firth. All those names we're used to hearing. Chalice Mackey also received votes. And then, I still think Malad is a team people are sleeping on a little bit, kind of like on the softball side. They just haven't had the opportunity to play a lot of games yet. So they might be off people's radar.
Yeah, Malad is always tough at baseball, and I think once they get a few more games, we'll probably see them kind of come up or maybe even make this list.
Yep, for sure. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with the initial coaches poll, the first coaches poll of the season. Those will come out every Wednesday on IdahoSports.com. All right, before we get out of here, Sean, because I know you've got to run, you've got a movie night with your kiddos. That's going to be a lot of fun. Last week, the Idaho High School Activities Association, the IHSAA, got together for their monthly meeting, and a lot of interesting stuff was discussed. And really, I liked most of it. Adding the javelin to track and field. I'm all on board for that. I threw the javelin at my high school in Montana, and I think it's a really fun event.
Making the tournaments more than 2 days.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Expanding state volleyball from a 2-day to a 3-day tournament, I think is fantastic.
I do too.
They talked about exploring other venues to host state events. I know everybody in East Idaho says, all right, Mountain America Credit Union Center. Let's do it. Mountain America Center. Let's do it. Brand new facility that was built right outside of Idaho Falls there, right off the interstate. That's where the Idaho Spud Kings, the minor league hockey team, plays. And I think, I don't know, I'd have to look at the seating. Like, what's the official seating for the Mountain America?
I feel like when I was talking to some people, it wouldn't be quite big enough for 5A.
Yeah.
But if 5A isn't, if it's two Boise teams in Idaho Falls, what's the numbers look like, right? It's kind of hard to estimate how many are going to travel. Obviously, if you have two 5A teams in Boise, you're going to fill the Idaho Center. But yeah, right. Yeah. I know a couple people said it probably wouldn't be big enough for like 5A, but you could definitely easily host like 4A with all the high schools, Taj Grizz, Hillcrest, Madison even. I mean, Madison is as far as from like downtown Boise to Nampa, you know what I mean? It's really not that far. So you got a great facilities, Rigby, Madison. So I know a lot of people, it'd be cool if like just maybe one division was there and it rotated or something like that. But then, people don't want to split it all up either. So there's a lot of,
hey, just bring it all to East Idaho, and you want to have your 5A be full, put it in Holt Arena.
Yeah.
And people are going to go, oh, Pocatello to Idaho Falls. That's such a long drive.
Same distances.
Time-wise, it's about the same from Boise to Caldwell, which is where some of the state tournament games are. Yeah, anyways, we hear you, East Idaho. I agree. I think it should be explored, at least moving that thing out of Boise and
at least track. I think track at Davis Field would be phenomenal. I know a lot of coaches have been really pushing for that too, with the really, the renovated Davis Field. It would just be a phenomenal state experience. You got the parking, you've got the mountains, you got local restaurants. I mean, like, just great for the community.
Yes. Speaking of Davis Field, next Friday, April 21st, IdahoSports.com will be broadcasting. This is first people to hear it will be on this podcast. We're still ironing out a few details, but we will be broadcasting the Direct Com Invitational. Rockland is the host school. There's going to be, I think, 30 plus teams.
Wow.
All at Davis Field. We'll be there broadcasting it on IdahoSports.com. A little regular season track for you. So, and field. So stay tuned for that. That's next Friday, the 21st. But yes, moving events to different venues. The word on the street has been that, there's the nice Idaho Central Arena right there in downtown Boise, not far from BSU. Could that host the 4A semifinals? so we don't have to do this weird thing where 4A semis are all on the same day on Friday and somebody's playing in the afternoon.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I have a very good source that tells me that they are exploring that partnership, and stay tuned. But I think that would be a great fit.
Yeah,
if
I agree.
It stays in Boise.
Yeah.
So, all right. They also talked about expanding the state playoffs for volleyball, soccer, basketball, and softball, where besides 5A, every other classification has 5 districts. Your 5 district champions, you'd play districts and you'd have 5 district champions. The 4 highest seeded champions, according to Max Preps, would automatically advance to state. The remaining 4 spots would then be determined by a series of play-in games. It would be that 5th district champion and then the 7 next best teams, according to Max Preps. And they would all play to figure out those next 4 spots. I think that's a pretty good idea.
Yeah, it's putting that flex tape on that hole that's gushing out water. That it's not totally fixing it, but I like it. I think it's a move in the right direction. I also know there was a lot of discussion about Max Preps too, and a lot of Boise area people did not want Max Preps anymore due to them ending up having to play each other in the district tournament. So I know that was a big thing of discussion, is Boise doesn't like Max Preps because it makes them have to play each other. You know what I mean? Because before it was automatically they weren't going to have to play each other first round, right? They just filled in those spots. Well, now, it's kind of evened out a little bit and they're having to play each other due to Max Preps. So I think that will be an interesting thing to see what happens there.
Whatever, deal with it. With it.
That's what I think. I just know there was a lot of, unfortunately they control a lot of the vote, right? They have the most votes for those kinds of things. So that's always the other problem, is we could want and wish, but East Idaho doesn't have a majority vote of anything. So hopefully we just have what we have and we improve, right? That's what I'd like to see as far as things like that. Okay, these things kind of work. Let's make it better because we have that ability. That'd be my personal view on those type of things.
Yeah, nobody came to East Idaho's defense 2 years ago when Skyline and Blackfoot
played for the 20th time.
Had to play for the 5th time in girls, and Hillcrest and Skyline had to play for the 5th time in boys at state right away in the opening round. And that was a predetermined bracket. I didn't hear a peep from anybody on that from outside of East Idaho. So you know what? Deal with it. That's nice.
I agree. I agree.
Step in the right direction for sure. And this is nothing official. They're just exploring, and they'll continue to explore in the June meeting. And then the other interesting thing was a discussion about tweaking the enrollment numbers for each specific classification, and basically going to what Oregon does: 6A, 5A, 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A. And everyone's all up in arms. We're adding another classification.
We had 6.
There's already 6. We're just getting rid of the D1, D2 designations on the 1A side and just making that its own thing. So how does it impact teams in East Idaho? It doesn't really, to be honest. It really, if they go off the numbers that they proposed, it's really only affecting 8 to 10 schools, period. So it's not moving the needle that much.
Yeah. The problem for me is if it stays the way it is, we'll have more opportunity to kind of change conferences. If we keep the enrollment numbers the same, the way they are, there's a lot of different discussions on different conferences, which would increase our reps, which to me as a coach is a really important thing. If it goes to this, we're stuck in the same boat, Pokey, Preston, Century, and it just keeps selling, I don't know, downstream. But that's my problem with it. And the problem I see with it, I think it just really helps. It really helps Boise, because Boise would lose a lot of 4A schools up to 5A if the numbers stayed the same, and they would lose their kind of stranglehold on those reps. And so, unfortunately, for me, that's the thing that bugs me. If it stays the same, those reps are going to change a little bit. But they were also talking about having different kind of reps for different sports and different things like that too. And you could qualify different ways, and just all of a sudden, we'd have no change, and all of a sudden we're going to reinvent the wheel on things. Is It's going to be a little overwhelming, but yeah, I just, it's hard for me if the district doesn't change. I feel like we need a bigger like 3-team districts are stupid. I just Northern Idaho would feel the same way. No one's going to go, oh boy, this 3-team district, like no one benefits from that. So whatever happens to change the number of districts, then I'm for it. I guess is what is where I'm going from. And I would say most people in a small district would agree.
I think we found our title. 3-team districts are stupid. That's going to be the podcast title. All right. So this will be a discussion once again in June at the IHSAA's next monthly meeting. And we're going to come up with a couple of models maybe on IdahoSports.com. Ryan Skaggs, our guy up north, has been working on a different set of enrollment parameters. His big idea is get rid of a classification. We only need 5, not 6. And then there wouldn't be such a big disparity in some of these things. And I'm working on something too. We're going to have a couple of different ideas just to see what people think, to get the conversation rolling a little bit. So stay tuned for that. We're still working on that on the back end as well. But spring sports season is here. There's pretty much something every day. Monday, heavy hitters, best softball, baseball hitters from the week that was. Tuesday, primetime pitchers, best pitching performances. Wednesday, coaches polls. Thursday, that's tomorrow, tracking the field, our bracketology for all of the classifications for track and field, looking at the leaderboards, projecting the points out, showing you who the leaders in each event are from 5A all the way down to 1A. So a lot of good spring sports content coming your way on IdahoSports.com. Sorry, Sean, I got choked up there at the end.
It's all right. Do you need a tissue?
No, I'm good. I'm trying to get you out of here. So
I like the track one. I just want to throw it out. I love the track one and seeing who's at the top and how that pans out. I think that's really fun. I think that's giving a track a lot more of a spotlight, that, you know, because there's so many events and so many great performances. I like that spotlight to get on these different things and kind of see it. And I really appreciate that one.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun exercise for me to put together because I always like projecting things, and so yeah, it's fun to do. So, all right, Sean, enjoy your movie tonight. You're going to the Super Mario Brothers movie. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, a little nostalgia. I played Nintendo with Super Mario Brothers, like one of the first things I ever played. So we'll see. My kids love Super Mario. Like my kids are into Mario Kart and GoldenEye. Like all the games I played there, those are their favorite games. It's kind of funny. Like they didn't have, they're kind of like, Idaho. They didn't really have to change anything, but they did. And people are still doing it. But yeah, it'll be good. Thanks.
Yep. All right. Well, for Sean Kane, I'm Brandon Baney. Thanks for tuning into the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.